I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just a trick of the mind, a shadow of imagination. Yet, deep inside, I knew that wasn't true. Matthew, my husband, had always been a man of control, calm, composed, never one to let emotion slip through his carefully built armor. But something in him had shifted. His silence felt heavier now, his eyes sharper, as though he were searching for answers he had already found. The unease between us had been brewing for days, filling the quiet spaces of our home. And then came the evening when everything broke. It should have been an ordinary night, the clatter of dishes, the comforting scent of dinner drifting through the air. But beneath the routine, an unshakable tension lingered. Matthew sat across from me, posture rigid, every movement deliberate. He barely touched his plate. And though he carried the weight of something unsaid, I felt it pressing on me too. Only Ethan, our little boy, seemed untouched by it all. He chattered away about his school day, his laughter bright and pure, a fleeting ray of light cutting through the thickening gloom. For a moment, it almost felt normal. Then Matthew spoke. Evelyn. Just my name. Nothing else. But the way it fell from his lips froze my blood. His tone was steady, yet underneath lingered something dark, something foreboding. We need to talk. My stomach turned. His voice carried no softness, no space for idle conversation. It was a verdict, not a request. My throat constricted, but I forced a nod. Sure, I managed, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. He leaned back, folding his arms, eyes flicking briefly to Ethan with a hint of gentleness before hardening again when they returned to me. I've been thinking, he began, his words slow and deliberate, about us. About this family. A nervous smile pulled at my lips, fragile as glass about to break. Is something wrong? I asked, though dread already knotted in my chest. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for the drawer beside him. His movements were painfully precise. When his hand reappeared, it held a manila envelope. Without a word, he laid it on the table between us. A chill raced down my spine. What is this? I whispered, heart pounding. His expression was stone. Open it. My fingers trembled as they touched the envelope. It felt heavier than paper should, as if it carried something irreversible. Reluctantly, I slid the documents out. My breath caught. Paternity test results. The letters blurred through my tears. I didn't need to read further. The truth was written in Matthew's face. Ethan isn't mine, is he? His voice was even, but laced with an icy finality I had never heard before. It was the voice of a man who already knew the truth, yet clung desperately to the faintest chance of being wrong. I opened my mouth, but words failed me. My heart pounded like thunder, drowning everything else. Answer me, Evelyn, he demanded, his tone slicing through the silence like a blade. I deserve the truth. Tears streamed down my cheeks, my silence an admission before I could form the words. How could I explain the unforgivable? How could I erase the betrayal carved into his face? Matthew. My voice cracked, weak, broken. It's not what you think. He let out a harsh, hollow laugh, no humor in it, one that struck me like a sudden blow. Not what I think. Then explain it, Evelyn. Explain this. His hand pointed toward the documents clutched in my shaking fingers, the undeniable evidence I could no longer deny. I dropped my eyes to the pages, willing the lines to blur or change, but they remained cold and unyielding, ripping apart the fragile life I'd held together. It was a mistake, I managed, my voice barely there. A mistake? He echoed, disbelief narrowing his eyes. You let me believe Ethan was mine for 6 years. 6 years, Evelyn. You let me love him, raise him, give him everything. And now you call it a mistake. The hurt in his voice was raw, every word gouging into me like a new wound. I never meant for this to happen, I pleaded, panic thick in my throat. I kept telling myself it wouldn't matter. His hands curled into fists, the restraint he'd shown finally cracking. But it does, Evelyn, he snapped, his voice rising. It matters more than you can imagine. A small voice cut into the storm. Mommy? Daddy? What's wrong? Ethan's eyes swung between us, worry already written on his little face. For an instant Matthew's expression softened as he turned to him. "Nothing, buddy," he said quietly. "Go to your room for a bit." "Okay." Ethan hesitated, sensing the tension, then nodded and padded away. His footsteps faded down the hall, leaving the house heavy and still. Matthew faced me again, his features hardening. "I'd had my suspicions for some time," he admitted, voice low and controlled but edged with pain. "The late nights, the secret calls, the trips that never made sense. I wanted to believe you. I wanted to trust you. So I pushed those doubts aside." "Matthew, please." I reached for him, desperate. "No." He stepped out of my reach, final. "You had 6 years to tell me the truth. 6 years to say something. Instead, you lied to me every single day." He grabbed another paper from the table and held it up, a bank statement. "And this," he said flatly, "our joint accounts. I froze them." My stomach turned. "You can't do that," I gasped. "Oh, I can," he replied, cold as ice. "And I did. You won't touch another penny of my money." Panic surged through me as everything I'd built unraveled, slipping through my fingers like dust. Matthew's lips twisted into a bitter smile. "And the man you were seeing, Jake, wasn't it? He's finished." I made sure of it. My breath caught. "What do you mean?" I asked, voice small. "I sent everything to his employer." He shrugged, as if naming it were nothing. "The affair, the paternity results, every detail. He won't be working anytime soon." "Matthew, please," I begged, breaking. "Don't do this." He shook his head, a storm of hurt and anger crossing his face. "You did this, Evelyn. Not me." He let out a sharp breath, trying to steady himself. "You made your choices. Now you deal with the consequences." He pushed his chair back with a harsh scrape against the tile. When he spoke again, his tone softened, but the blow was no less devastating. "I'll file for divorce first thing tomorrow." He paused, something almost like tenderness flickering across his features. "I will always love Ethan. He's blameless in all of this. But you're on your own." Then he left. The door slammed behind him, the sound echoing through the empty rooms and leaving a hollowness I'd never known. For a long time I sat motionless, staring at the spot he'd occupied, trying to make sense of the wreckage I'd caused. Footsteps approached, small and hesitant. "Mommy." Ethan's voice was soft and unsure. "Is everything okay?" I wiped my face and forced a hollow smile. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Don't worry." I pulled him close, but as I held him the truth hit like a tidal wave. I had betrayed the man who had loved me, shattered the trust that held our family together, and hurt the innocent child who needed me. The life I'd taken for granted had vanished, leaving only a vast, aching emptiness.